Right, and it's changing by the minute, by the way. I keep seeing new reports with new details, but it looks like at least one part of it is a divestiture. That would be divesting large amphitheaters that are owned by Live Nation. The Department of Justice alleged that Live Nation owned 60 out of the 100 top amphitheaters in the U.S. And the control over those amphitheaters, which the artists really need for summer tours, desire for summer tours, was part of the problem, some of the claims that were left in this litigation. So selling some of them opens them up to other promoters.
Okay, I guess one big question people had was Ticketmaster, the fate of Ticketmaster, and whether that stays with Live Nation or whether it's spun out or the company is forced to sell that. Do we have a firm answer as to what happens to Ticketmaster?
Well, not really. According to the DOJ settlement, it does not have to be sold. But there are 40 states involved as well. They are also plaintiffs, and they also have the authority to litigate under federal antitrust laws, just as the Department of Justice does. And not all of them have settled, according to the news reports. New York has actually come out and said, this isn't good enough. We're going to continue on. So if they continue on with the litigation, they will continue to seek a divestiture order from the judge for Live Nation to sell Ticketmaster. They see that as the only solution to kind of fix a broken concert ticketing system and live concert industry. I'll tell you, I think it's a long shot. You know, once you get the settlement with the Department of Justice and you kind of you lose the weight of the Department of Justice behind you on these antitrust matters, it is difficult for the states to go forward and win, even if they won a jury determination that Live Nation was guilty of illegal monopolization. I'm not so sure that the judge would be willing to stick his neck out and impose what's considered a really drastic remedy generally to force a company to break itself up.
So let's play pretend and say the states are not successful with their trials. Does this DOJ settlement mean anything at all to you and me when we go out to try to buy tickets? I mean, and I've said this, people who listen to the show regularly know I talk about being a family of five, and man, you're taking a small mortgage just like take the whole family to go see a show. So is that going to get any better under this settlement as it stands?
I'll tell you that I'm skeptical. And you know, what you just said is why this case is so politically popular. And this was a little bit surprising because it really has bipartisan interest. It has bipartisan support. You know, it consumer support. Kid Rock was going to come along and he was going to be a witness for the plaintiffs in this case. Because Live Nation has been under a Department of Justice consent order since 2010. So in other words, since 2010, the way they behave in the marketplace was supposed to be regulated. They were supposed to behave in a certain way, and they've managed to really get around that for years. In fact, during the first Trump administration, the Department of Justice investigated, determined that Live Nation was violating the terms of that order and extended it and sort of bolstered its terms.
Okay.
And now this case came along with the allegation that no, Live Nation continues to violate the terms of that order. And so my skepticism comes from there are new terms here that they're talking about that, again, are behavioral. I talked about selling the amps, but there are also behavioral conditions. And if Live Nation's been able to get around behavioral conditions since 2010, I'm not sure what's going to stop them now.
What about Ticketmaster's competitors? Have they done things better? Have they changed the way that they sell tickets or that they allow people to buy and sell tickets?
What's interesting you ask, because the CEO and founder of SeatGeek was one of the witnesses I heard last week. And SeatGeek started as a secondary ticket seller. They were just a marketplace to bring together people who wanted to sell tickets they couldn't use and buyers. But they're trying to get into what's called primary ticketing, being the first one to ticket an event, and really have struggled. And they say they have struggled because of Live Nation, that they have superior technology, that their platform is better, that what they can offer venues is better, but they haven't been able to get those venues signed up because either they have a long-term exclusive agreement to be ticketed by Ticketmaster, or because Live Nation, which is a huge promoter, handles artist tours, said, we'll route our artists around your venue. We won't bring them to your venue if you use some company other than Ticketmaster. So really what we've seen is that Ticketmaster doesn't have a lot of competition in the ticketing area, and part of it is allegedly because of its own conduct.